everybody. Welcome back to my little in bloom world. I'm really bummed. I just made a 15-minute video and I was really happy with it and I had so much to say. And when I uploaded it, there was no sound. I didn't realize that the little microphone that was up here was dead. So that is not making my day. It's not making my day. Anyway, I have had a very interesting couple of weeks. I just said all this stuff. I don't want to say it again. Dang it. But I do. So this is kind of a raw, vulnerable share, whatever. I'm a weirdo. Just deal with it. And hopefully the wind isn't blowing in my microphone too bad. So the last week or two, I've just been thrown for a loop. I know a lot of other people have been as well, and there's just been all sorts of chaos and stuff. But mostly what I wanted to touch on about that is just, I was sitting out here making bouquets. I was making bouquets while I was talking in my other video that ended up having no sound. So I have all sorts of flower bouquets around me, which is great. So I wanted to just talk about my experience over the last week or two, because I know a lot of other people have the same thing, but I've just come to terms with the fact that the planetary alignments, the astrological alignments, the Schumann resonance, which is the Earth's, magnetic field. These things have been affecting me a lot. And how do I say it? Not that I'm all about astrology. I don't really know that much about it. But the weird thing is, every single time I go through something, mostly what I'm feeling or sometimes external circumstances, but I always end up tracing it to something going on up there in the cosmos. And every time I learn a little bit more. Maybe the planets are, Mercury is going retrograde and it's moving into the 5th house of Pluto or whatever, I don't know all that mumbo jumbo. All I know is every time I can trace what's going on with me to those events. And last week, it was Wednesday in particular, I just thought I was losing my mind. I woke up and I was just so off. I knew I wasn't going to get anything done that day. And I had random, just deep crying spells all day long. And I just felt so off and I didn't know why. It wasn't related to anything in particular. Oh, my son just got home from work. And so my daughter-in-law and I, we were talking about it. She thought, well, maybe you're just decompressing from all the transition and moving jobs and all the things that are going on lately. And you've never, really given yourself time to just decompress from all that. And I thought, oh, that must be it. But I realized it was more like an anticipatory grief. I just had a feeling like, and I was crying because all I could describe it as was seeing how good life has finally become for everybody in my family. Everybody's really kind of landed where they have been trying to be for so long. And I just was sad because knowing life, that's not going to last. There's going to be stuff that we have to deal with. There's going to be grief. There's going to be loss. People are going to suffer. It is the nature of being a human being on planet Earth. And I just didn't want it because I know it's going to happen. And I was just grieving that. That's why I termed it anticipatory grief. And so I just dealt with it. I just let myself cry and whatever. But then about 7 o'clock, my daughter called and she's like, are you sitting down? So I'm like, oh no. That's either really good or really bad. And so she gave me some news about their family. And, my son-in-law's been in the immigration process for about 3.5 years. Everything was great. Everything was just approved all the way along. And he's been able to work, and they have a business and all the things. And apparently they just decided to suddenly revoke everything. And they said, get out of the country in 33 days. So that has put everybody in a bit of a tailspin. That's been very difficult and very confusing because it was unexpected. So that's been hard. But then after we had a discussion about, oh no, is my daughter going to have to move to Brazil? Maybe not. We'll see. They've hired an attorney and they're in the process of dealing with that. They're going to reopen the case and say, what's going on here? So that's when I realized, oh, I knew it. And sometimes that happens to me. Sometimes I get a feeling before something and I don't know what it is and I don't like it. And then I find out, oh, that's what I was feeling. That's why I was crying. That's why I was nervous. And then Sunday, that was Wednesday the 23rd. And then this last Sunday, I had another day like that. Not that bad. And it wasn't grieving. It was more of a foreboding, because with all of the changes in the Schumann resonance, because of the solar flares, it's causing intense spikes in that frequency. And that affects us. We're magnetic beings. And it affects us. The moon cycles affect us, all that type of thing. And so I had a day where I just felt off, and I thought, all of these astrological events that are happening, which apparently are very rare and very intense, and then the frequency spiking and the solar flares and all that, I thought, this is the kind of stuff that makes people flip out. This is the kind of stuff where if somebody is on the cusp, it's going to push them over the edge. And sure enough, I woke up Monday morning, turned on the news, and mass shooting in Seattle, about 70 miles away from us. And it's like, yeah, I know. I knew that was going to happen, but I didn't know what. So that is the type of things that have been happening for me over the last couple of weeks. And it's exhausting. I get physical symptoms like bad headaches, really wanting to eat or sleep a lot, being very forgetful, mental symptoms, being forgetful, and feeling like time. And this is another thing that somebody mentioned in one of the sites that I will go to when things are going like this with me. They were like, well, time is going to feel really odd. Like you can't really get a good grasp on time. And every time I go through stuff like this, it's interesting because I don't know why it's happening or why I'm feeling it, but I will inevitably hear a reel, a video, a blog article, and it'll come across my path and it'll say, hey, just, whatever's going on with the planets and this and that, it's going to cause you to be X, Y, and Z. And it's always exactly what I have been going through and feeling and experiencing every time. It's like I know it before I know it. So that's just been interesting. It's just weird. And I don't know what to do about it. It's not like I can prevent anything from happening if it's bad. It's not always bad. I can't warn anybody because I don't know what it is that's going on. All I can do is just understand that I just need to stay grounded, be centered, be intentional, slow down, and just pay attention to what's going on. Because if I'm experiencing something or I'm knowing about something, or there's something that's being brought to my awareness, there's a reason for that. And I want to pay attention to it and do the right thing. But anyway, it's been weird. I forgot my keys in the car the other day. I left them in the ignition when I went into the store to get like half and half in eggs. And I was like, where's my keys? Where's my keys? So I went out and they were in the ignition. Like, I never do that. The other day I was going down the road to go to work, went out to the main road. I took a left instead of a right, and I started to go down the road and I went, Where am I going? That's my old job. I don't work there anymore. What in the heck? There's been so many things like that. So between the spaciness and the mood swings and the crying spells and the foreboding and the headaches and oh God, this sense of time just not making any sense. Yeah, I've been kind of a mess. I've been kind of missing in action. And then of course I just did a YouTube video and I had no sound. I am just bah. So yeah, I just wonder, I know that there's a lot of other people that experience that type of thing and don't think anything of it because they're aware, but yeah, drop me a comment if you are like that too. I don't know if you call it an empath or a sensitive or who knows. There's so many things it could be. And I don't know, like I said, I don't know why. But I don't have to know why. It's just, that's the internal landscape that's been going on lately, and it's a lot. But everything else is coming along just fine. There's a lot of projects around here. The flower garden is incredible. Matter of fact, I mean, look at some of these bouquets that I just went and picked a whole bunch of stuff. Look at all these. So I'm going to put them out on the stand. What I did for the last couple of weeks was I put the cut flowers just in different containers. And I just said, build your own bouquet, right? As you saw in one of those other videos. But people weren't necessarily, they did take some, but I think people just don't want to have to make their own. They would rather just grab a nice bouquet and be on their way. So I'm going to go ahead and do the bouquets for them. And then maybe we can move along some of these gorgeous flowers. They're for sharing. Yeah. So that was just my little rant for the day. I've been either thinking I'm losing my freaking mind or turning into an alien or something. I don't know. But I do feel that things are kind of calming down, and I'm kind of like moving through that, coming to the other side. But there's a lot going on in the world, locally, globally. Just there is a lot. I've never seen so much happening of such magnitude and such importance and such bizarreness. So anyway, all right. Well, feel free to share your weird woo-woo stories as well. I don't want to be the only one. Okay. I'm going to turn this off now and get my flowers out, and we'll see you next time. All right. Bye, everybody.